Hi everyone, myself Dr. M. Lakshmi Prasad, working as an associate professor in the Department of Data Science in Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. In this video, I'm going to discuss about various principles of data presentation. So, in that one, very first one is that clarity principle. So, that one I'm going to discuss in this video. Along with this clarity principle, so we are having two more principles, that is efficiency principle and precision principle. So, these are the principles we have to be follow while presenting the data, right? So, what is the clarity first of all? So, clarity is defined as a clearness as to perception or understanding, or freedom for indistinctness or ambiguity. So, this is the clarity. So, clarity is going to be defined as clearness as to perception or understanding, or freedom for indistinctness or ambiguity. So, it is the latter part that really sticks out to us as a virtue of presentation design. So clarity is very important, as because what else the data are going to presenting, so the audience or viewers can able to understand the content very clearly, and so the clarity is the very first one. So understand the message, what is want to wish to impact, so and then provide it in a clear and then concise manner. So whatever is the text or data we're presenting, so that should be in very clarity one, and that should be in a concise manner also. So if you're going to put lots of information presentation, that should not be good. So what is the data, we have to make it concise and make it a clarity, and this is also the key aspect of any data presentation, and it should be also related to the other principles like precision and efficiency. Okay, so these are the thing we have to be remember while presenting the data. So clarity is defined as clearness or to perception or understanding, right? So this is the first thing, and this should be the later part that should be really strike out as a virtue of presentation design. So what is the text or message we're presenting, that should be in a very clear, and then that should be in a concise manner, and the clarity should be one of the aspect of the data presentation. It is also related to the other principles like precision and efficiency also. So just now I said along with the clarity we're having the principles precision efficiency also. So that one I'm going to discuss in detail in the next video. So how we're going to set the context of the clarity in the presentation of data. So for that, what and how to do? So how to make that text or context, make it clarity in presentation of data, and what we're going to set that. So every element in the presentation should lead to the audience to make the big decision. So what is the element we are presenting in presentation? So that should lead to the audience to make a big decision, right? So here is the virtual presentation of the way of uh, various elements in the presentation, so that may lead to the big decision, right? So by looking this diagram, I can able to understand how to make a big decision by seeing the presentation of the data, right? So what is the data? So make it as small assertions of one single small decision, and similarly take another decision, make a assertions of that one, so that that may leads to the big decision, right? So many of the people know that if we're going to solve a big problem, so what how to do? So we have to be split it into smaller problems, and each of those smaller problems is going to be solved, and then finally have to be clubbed all the small problems, and then what we have to do, get the solution for the big problem. So in similar fashion also, so what are the elements we are presenting that should be lead to the audience to make a big decision is the context of the clarity, right? So in what we have to do, so make a small assertions of a small decision, and then similarly make an assertions of other small decisions, and finally club it, so that what we have to get should be a big decision. And your presentation should be successful, so when you make the path towards the big decision as smooth and clear as possible for your audience also. So for this, what you have to do, you have to make this inference from your slides obvious, right? So like, right, so what is the presentation presenting that should be successful, and I'm going to say that means, so what you make the path towards validation should be smooth as well as clear as possible for our audience. So what is the presentation, right? So that presentation should be smooth one, and then clearly, so that what you have, what the audience will do, so that by seeing this presentation itself, the audience can make a big decision, right? And then, so for this, we need to make the inference from our slides obvious also. So let's see the example. So this is the monthly performance. So in x-axis, I'm taking the months, and then in y-axis, I'm taking the sales in particular month. I'm drawing a graph. So for that, I'm using a bar graph here. So initially, this is the by seeing this, what will happen? The audience can understand how much of its sales done in January, how much of sales is done in February, how much of sales is done in March. Like this, we are having. So what will happen again? The audience is not that much clear. What is this value? Exactly matches. So that is the problem here, right? So how that, so what I have to do, how to make this bar chart should be very clear. So what you have to do, so for what you have to do is, you have to write something here, so that what will happen, so that the values simultaneously get observed, right? So this is the monthly. So this is one of type of the problems where kind of way of presenting the data. So if I'm going to present, what will happen? So definitely the audience may get a question mark. So how much this value? How much this value? How much of January sales done in January? How much of sales done in February? How much of sales done in March? Like this. So this is the problem I'm getting when I'm going to present the graph in this form. So for that, what I have to do, so even though the chart gives the right information, so what that the inference from one slide is not obvious, right? So for that, what will happen, there is no clarity in the presentation of the data, so that the different people in the audience start looking at different parts of the charts, and then may also raise questions. So these are the problems may arise if you are going to present the data in a not in a good manner or good presentation. So the discussion goes on a tangent, and the presenter also lose the control of the situation. These are the problems that may come. So if the clarity of the presentation is not good, right? So what will happen? So by seeing this graph, what will happen? So what is the value of January? What is the value of February? What is the value? So the audience definitely may get some doubts, and then they may also ask the questions, right? So sometimes the uh, mm, sometimes they may also ask questions, and then the discussion is not that much good, and then presenter also loses the control. So these are the problems that may arise when the clarity is not present in the presentation of the data. So what is the best way? So I want to know whether the sales are increasing or decreasing by considering all the months of the year. So how that I can able to do? So consider the alternative representation of the data in the graphs. Suppose if I'm going to mention this green line, what I'm showing, so that what will happen? So the sales are increasing. So by seeing that arrow itself, it indicates the sales are increasing, right? So this slide title clearly spells out the message of the slide. So the presenter, what I am presenting, suppose, so whether the sales are increasing or not for the last 3 months, I want to know. So at that time, what I have to do, I have to make instead of presenting the value, so if I'm going to draw this kind of coloring lines to presentation, what will happen? So that definitely the audience can understood that the sales are increasing every year. The specific portion of the chart which proves the assertion is clearly highlighted using a green dotted arrow. and then the audience should also get the message in seconds and moves towards the big decision, right? So by seeing this arrow, what will happen? So the audience can get to clearly make a big dish. So okay, can able to continue this company or not. That type of big decisions can be taken very easily by seeing this kind of presentation of the data here. Then how are going to bring clarity in the presentation of the data? So this is another kind of question. So the first way is to use the contrast, okay, to make the content information highlight, and you can also use a different color to bring attention to the important point of your slide, or I can able to make highlight the main point with the red line, or I can able to use any other methods to make the audience notice the information what you want to present them and to make a register in their mind, right? So for that, so how to make this clarity bring into the presentation of the data? So what you have to do, so we have to make some concentration to highlight some important information, so that one you want to show to the audience. So that in what way? So I can able to do that by make use of the different color to bring attention to the important of the slide, or I can able to make use of red lines, or I can able to use some other different methods to the audience notice, so that the audience can able to clearly register in their mind what is the step. Look at this diagram. So these are the steps in my application. So what I am doing is I am going to coloring this step, or I can either to represent with some other different color. So what will happen? So this step is very important among this all the four steps, so that more importance should be given to this step, so that audience can also easily remember, or viewers can also easily remember in their mind by seeing this kind of presenting the data here. Next, let us see how to enhance the clarity of a data presentation slide. So for that, what you have to do is, so in the following slide, the presenter wants to showcase their new system that has saved costs across all the units, right? So the right data is to show the cost comparison between the previous year when the system was not available and the current year with the system, the new system. So this kind of information I want to present to the audience. So for that I want comparison. So comparison is between the comparison of sales between the last year and then previous year I want to make it. So how to make this comparison clearly for the audience? So how to represent that? So for that, normally what I have to do for the for last year, so what are the sales in January, February, March? I can able to draw one graph here. Similarly, I can able to draw what are the sales in January, February for the current year. I can able to draw. So like this, I can able to draw two different kinds of graphs. So for that, what I have to do, instead of showing the two graphs, so is there any other way to represent the same thing in a single graph? That is the question, that is the one. So that should be the better alternative also, right? So this, so by seeing this two graphs, I can able to see this graph, what is the sales, let it be some 95 and then 65. How to see the both graphs? So what is this sales in January month? Similarly, I have to see 65 and then here it is 55. Again I have to compare it, suppose 85 and then 105. Like this I have to compare the sales. That is just a little bit clumsy or a little bit difficult to see that kind of comparison. So is there any better alternative that is available for representing two graphs simultaneously? So what is that way? So that is that how to are going to enhance the clarity of the data presentation. So the presenter wants to showcase their new system across cost around all the units. So for that, how to make the comparison? So even though two charts what I am using in this slide provide the required data and inference is not going to be obvious. That is the problem in this graph. And so here is the better alternative. So instead of representing this last year sales and current year sales in two different graphs, so we're having one more alternative, that is that uh, multiple bar chart diagram. So here what I'm going to do is so this dark line what I'm having should be the last year sales, and light green what I'm showing that should be the current year sales. So I'm going to put entire thing in a single graph. So previously that should be two graphs I'm maintaining. So I'm going to clump it and have to showing it a single layer. So then in January month, how many number of sales that has done, that should be this one, and current year is this one. So similarly in second February, how many number of sales in last year and current year. Similarly number of sales in third, fourth, fifth. So by seeing this graph side by side, what can I able to do? So the sales are good in last year and then sales are not good in the current year by seeing this graph simultaneously. So need of comparison is to be done. So in previous we have to make the comparison, right? So how to see the comparison on seeing one graph and seeing another graph. So that thing is going to be eliminated by seeing the graph itself. I can able to make comparison very quickly. So in this, the both charts of the previous slide are going to be combined to help the audience to read the information very easily. And so this will definitely also improve the clarity of information provided, but the inference is not made obvious enough also. So here also, what is the better alternative of this going to be represented? Uh, what is the better alternate? So previous thing is two graphs I'm showing, so that one is compared. Is there any other better alternative that is available for the next graph? So here is the alternative. So this is the next better alternative presenting the clarity of the graph with clarity. So by seeing this, so this should be the three-dimensional line graph what we are having, and this is the last year's sales. So the difference can also be clearly identified how much difference is there. So in previous video, how much difference is there between the current year and last year? That kind of information I lost actually. So for that, what I'm doing, so I have to still again I have to calculate. So that kind of problem is going to be rectified by using this line graph, 3D line graph, right? So by saying things, I'm going to represent it in units wise, and same thing I have drawn the line graph, 3D line graphs. So the difference is going to be represented how much, whether it is a last very minute difference is there or large difference is there. By seeing this graph we can able to identify. So the information what we are going to be provided in clearly understandable form. So the exact amount saved and mentioned on the slide is very obvious way like this. So whatever the problem are going to be presented, you have to be identify what is the best and best graph among all other graphs what we're having. So that one should be important. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.